What's going on, YouTube? My name is GinJ-TCG, or Chris, and today I'm back with the final episode for the Season 2 podcast, here by my co-host, Avery. What's going on, Avery?
You know, honestly, my life was going really great until I did 3 practice hands with this new deck I have, and I started Root Bonnet 3 times in a row with my 1-of. So, you know, what?
Checks out. Were the prizes
I'll
awful?
take it. I didn't check the prizes. I'm not even gonna continue that.
And I'm sure
you know, I'll check them right now. Let's see what we got. We got our
guaranteed everything's prized.
We got guaranteed. All right, Binding Mochi, Booster Energy Capsule, Lurantis GX, Rad Ninja.
That's not bad.
And 2 VS Seeker.
That checks out. That's not awful though. It's not awful by yourself.
There it is.
And I'm sure y'all have seen, based on the thumbnail, the title, and sitting here right now, we are joined by our very first guest, Courtney, or After Crash. Courtney, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, and thank you for the small introduction. Hi, I am After Crash, also known as Courtney. I am a top 900 Pokemon TCG content creator. It's a little bit of a flex.
Do it. This is your space.
I have to do something.
You got to do it now while everyone's watching.
Exactly.
Yes.
I do a lot of Twitch streams. I stream every weekday besides Monday. I'm just starting to upload YouTube content. And overall, I'm just vibing with the overall, I would say, workload that I'm putting myself under. And I'm honestly very happy to be a guest here. I've been friends with these two for quite a minute.
January.
Just very happy to. It was a.
No?
It was a regional. I know that.
It was Charlotte regional. When was it? I don't remember when Charlotte was. What year? It was January. Because it was Rich's birthday.
It was January 24. It was January 24.
So just about a year.
Because that was the same. Because that was the same one I went against Azul.
Yes, that's right. Okay. We met at the oh my god, what's it called? The raid battle.
Yeah, we met at the raid battle.
The Friday prep.
Yeah.
Nah, it's epic. Well,
yeah,
happy to have you here. Happy to have you as the first guest. Yeah, so I mean, actually, speaking of YouTube comment, I just wanted to say one thing too before we hop into it and we make this whole episode about Courtney. Just wanted to use the space to tell everyone that on April 5th we are going to have a creators cook-off. So it has been hosted and created by my guy Chef Husky. However, I will not be participating in the tournament. I will be a caster alongside Chef. So me and him will be casting everyone's matches, and everyone will be creating a whole bunch of decks, including these two goons here. These are going to be the two I'm rooting for. No shade. One of them better win because I'm drawing the winner's playmat, and if I don't get to see that thing religiously in real life, I will be pretty upset because I can't win it. But yeah, it's going to be an awesome tournament. A lot of people are going to be streaming it. Courtney, you'll probably be streaming it if I had to take a guess. I know a bunch of people will be recording it and uploading different games or different parts on different days. So definitely check into that. There's going to be a ton of different creators. All of them are super cool people. Just all dope people around. Go check it out if you haven't seen any of their channels. And it'll be on April 5th. Now, with that being said, Courtney, this is officially your time. So if you don't mind, tell us, what got you into the Pokemon TCG in the first place?
Well, I think it's pretty known that nowadays, if you grew up with Pokemon, you're sticking with it until the end. You're ride or die with Pokemon. I started playing in 2004 with Pokemon Ruby. It's a nice little story of me having my little SpongeBob Game Boy Advance SP, walking into a local GameStop, crawling technically because I was 3 years old, and some employee misplaced Ruby into this little half box of like $3 Game Boy games, and they honored the price. So I got a $3 copy of Ruby a year or two after it came out. I was stuck in Slateport City for God knows how long. I'm embarrassed to say that I did only find out how to do it when ORAS came out. So
that's fair.
I'm not the smartest. I'll say that.
That ain't true.
And I've just been playing ever since. I did not play the TCG when I was younger.
Did you collect cards?
I did
like casually or no?
I had a few packs open within the E series. I still have some of them as well, but they are beaten up for sure.
Yeah.
But I peaked around 2009 to 2013, because as these two know, and anyone who watches my content knows, Shinx is my child. I love that thing, and knowing that Luxray was a meta deck, really nice. Um, I stumbled around the scene just watching for a while, and then the Mewtwo Terror came around. I stopped watching. And then I came back in Champion's Path,
Oh, that's weird.
and I didn't. Yeah, it was
Wow.
significantly
That's
later.
a long time.
Yeah, I did dabble a tiny bit. I did play the Sandshrew Alolan Ninetales trainer kit, with someone I knew.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun for just learning, and that was
Yeah.
my introduction of learning how to play the game.
Okay.
And I started playing more in Chilling Rain. That was about the time I started sitting down at local card shops and
No
playing
kidding.
games.
That's when
and
I
then-
started sitting at local card shops. Are you serious? Wait,
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
about
Oh
that
my
time.
gosh, wow. What was your first deck
And
then?
then my first deck, it
Yeah.
was a. I actually still have it sleeved. It's a Alcremie Espeon deck.
Stop it right now.
It-
Mine was a Shadow Rider
it's-
Calyrex VMAX with Alcremie and a 1/1 Espeon VMAX line.
You
That's
gotta be
so
kidding.
weird. No, I swear to God. You can ask Avery. He traded me half of it. Like,
That's
that's
crazy.
so
Sold this man
weird.
half the deck.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's insane. Good deck.
But
You
yeah,
got good taste.
I-
You got good taste.
Yeah, I still have that somewhere. But I personally did not learn more about the game, as my local card scene was not that good. But I had a good friend now. Shout out Vinny. He came in one day, completely taught me how to do anything. Beat the guy that kicked my butt just once, and he scurried off to Magic. So I call that a W.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
after that, I just started playing more competitively. I went to Baltimore 22's regional. I went 1-3 with Hisuian Sneasler.
Hell yeah.
And I guess I can contribute LDF to my comp awakening. And I didn't technically start playing extremely competitive until I would say NEIC 23. NEIC 23 was when I laid it all, pushed forward. I didn't do well, but it definitely gave me the drive to sit down and just learn this game.
Yeah.
And it absolutely paid off.
Cool.
I last season, like I said, I was top 900 in the world.
Yeah.
And I have been slacking a lot this season. So just due to
You've
some
had life going on.
personal stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That ain't
it's perfectly
slacking.
fine, but
It's not like you're like a bum
Next-
doing nothing in
next-
your life, you know? It's like you're progressing
You know,
your life.
you got a stream to take care of. You got sponsors
Yeah.
to take care of. Like you got
and
a lot
just
going on.
life
Exactly.
events outside of Pokemon. Like as much as we love the game, stuff has to progress, so we could become
Exactly.
financially stable to just buy any card we want for the rest of our lives. Period. You know, we all gotta get there.
exactly.
True.
But I will say,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, if things go into place properly, next season I will be on that grind all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited. I will be going to Atlanta regional, and if
Awesome.
anyone is interested, also Full Grip. They're
Mm-hmm.
doing a 3K cash tournament coming up at the end of this month,
True.
as of recording in March. And I would love to see anybody there.
Is that
as-
online?
No, Full Grip is a person. I'm gonna be flying out with my partner. Shout out Sky. And we're gonna be playing the SmackDown on Full Grip.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's
I'll
gonna be a
definitely
lot
be
of
rooting
fun.
for y'all. Definitely gotta post
You better get
the
be on
wins in
stream.
the chat
or I'm
for
gonna be
us.
upset.
Yeah. Are they doing a stream
I better.
table?
I swear.
They should.
Huh?
I would imagine they have a stream
Yeah.
table there, right?
Yeah, they do.
They do? That'd be cool.
I believe it's under Tricky Gym.
That's what I figured. Yeah.
Is
That makes sense. Ah, it'll be really cool. I'll definitely tune into the stream. But regardless, definitely gotta send your record and stuff in the Discord for people to follow along.
Mm.
More importantly, us will be rooting for you, screaming from the sidelines. I don't think we'll be making
Thank
it,
you.
Avery. I don't know if you will. I definitely can't.
Yeah, me neither. I'm not.
Okay.
I
I
can't.
got midterms that week, so I will
Oof.
probably be studying the whole time, or I guess taking the test. But yeah. Anyways, what got you into YouTuber or VTuber content for the Pokemon TCG, or have you done it for other things besides this?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I've dabbled a little bit in like just playing games like with like friends, but the
Yeah,
majority
yeah.
of my content has been Pokemon VTubing.
Okay. Word.
To be honest with you, when I originally started VTubing, I was very self-conscious about my look, and I found this as a great outlet for me to conceal myself and have this great character that I've used through, I would say, almost half a decade now, because I have this model for Splatoon 2.
Mhm.
And over time, I blossomed, and I'm currently at the state that I am in now.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever go back at this point because I'm having so much fun as a VTuber.
Yeah. Yeah.
How I brought myself into the Pokemon scene was I found out that there were extremely very little content creation within Pokemon TCG that is VTubing.
Yes.
Like there's like some smaller like PNG YouTubers or and content creators, but no one's like had the competitive side as a VTuber.
Yeah.
And I wanted to show that. And I think it's been I think I've been doing really well going into Mickey's, playing as a Guardy bot. Going
Yep.
going
Yeah.
ham, especially with like the last 20 online tournaments.
You definitely have.
Yeah, I've also just taken a break from them because I'm currently testing post rotation.
No, that makes sense. Especially if you're going to
absolutely.
Atlanta too.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
And especially if you're playing Gardevoir.
Yeah.
not playing Gardevoir for post rotation. I'll tell you that.
Well, you gotta drop the sauce. Drop the sauce on us right now. What you playing?
I dropped. I think it's pretty obvious in this format. A lot of people playing Terrabox. I do personally enjoy it. I have this really bad thing where my favorite decks are the ones that have a really good matchup into everything. If I draw, okay. However,
I think that could be said about so many decks, though. It is a card game at the end of the day. There is going to be a certain amount of luck. I mean, sure, you can theoretically make more and more consistent decks, sure, but at the end of the day, you simply could draw into 7 out of, like, 10 energies. Or like 6 in a basic Pokemon.
True.
Be a Lugia player.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say, though, the only reason why I mentioned that is because I probably have the worst draw luck known to mankind.
Well, if you have the worst draw luck. Avery's got the worst prize luck. I take more mulligans
absolutely.
than anyone I've ever seen. We make a good team.
Yeah.
I took 7 earlier. For no reason. There's basic Pokemon in the deck. Like, it's not... There's, like, 8 or 9 basics. Like, a respectable amount. You know, okay, 1, 2... Yeah, 7. 7! Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I've just been having a lot of fun doing that. I now, like I said, I'll be making YouTube content soon. I want to dive deeper
wait for that.
into my opinions of what's happening, what's coming up, and just overall my opinions. Because I feel like I might have a voice in this little community.
At least from my
I'm just really excited.
perspective too, especially like following your Twitter for so long too. I feel like what I love watching about you is not just your voice and not just your opinions, but you speak for people. That's always something I've admired a lot, and I think really like you said, you represent a relatively small part of like the public community, you know what I mean, by like being a VTuber. There's not a lot of other ones, especially competitive one, and I think you give a voice to a group of people that need to be heard and are underrepresented, and I think that's always something I've really loved to watch and see, and I think that's why like I'm personally so honored to have you just be on this podcast and just be here to talk about that, so that like people watching here,
Yeah. I would say that that's also part of my goals as a content creator and a VTuber. I have an ambition for bringing together a very small community, and knowing that if they ever come to me or to like the groups that part of, that they're safe, and that
Mhm.
they're heard, and that they're heard. And I want to make sure that they're all taken care of. They're all they're all learning with me,
Mhm.
and overall just having a pretty good community of pretty positive and supportive people.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that so much. That's always one of the things I wanted to do with like my own community, like branch out with others like yours, and just anyone that joins feeling comfortable, safe, happy to be themselves, happy to just ask questions. Like I ask dumb questions all the time. What was it, Avery? We were playing. I was playing with break Pokemon for the first time, and I'm like, "Can I rot a break Pokemon?" Like that's a really dumb question, but I've never played with them. I don't know.
Bring them back.
Yeah,
Please.
no, for real.
Yeah, I might have just had a long discussion with my team about the mega system.
Yeah.
So that's a discussion that's probably not intended for this podcast.
That could be a whole episode we could go into,
Hold on.
honestly.
No, absolutely.
I need to know your just flat opinion. Do you like them or do you not like them coming back?
I would have liked them if they were in the same evolution system as they were prior.
We're all in the same boat. All in the same boat. Yep. I think that would have been nice. Or if it was like an extra
That's all
evolution.
I needed to hear.
That's I'm gonna dive into this too much. I need to
No,
stop myself now.
I
I'm gonna
Find me one trainer that goes to Route 3 and uses Psybeam with their curly to knock out a Pidgey, and all of a sudden, that thing just turned into a goddamn Mega, like immediately.
That's right.
Look at that happening.
Not even that. You were candy that waltz.
Yes.
That sucker becomes a mega.
You go from Ralts to Mega. Well, I can't.
Hold on.
I'm not happy.
I'm gonna give you this lollipop real quick, right? You're gonna turn into you gonna go from baby to a grown ass man for me real quick.
Real.
Oh wait, don't forget the fact that we're going to have a mega basic again.
Which,
we're not.
that surprisingly, I think, I don't know if that'll bother me as much, because I think it just starting as a 3-prizer, obviously depending on what like the abilities and attacks they get, because I'm sure it'll be busted and too overpowered. But I feel like as a whole, like I mean, I didn't play during the Sun and Moon era, but tag team cards did exist. They were basics. People have dealt with them before. I'm sure there will be ways to deal with them again. I think the most overpowered thing about the megas that evolve is they go from the single prizer to a 3-prizer. They go from being worth nothing to all of a sudden being worth half of the game, essentially. At least with like VMAXs, it was a 2-prizer at the start. There's still substantial value you could get out of boss KOing that. Now you're gonna boss KO a Curlia or a Ralts for 1. And it's like that sucks. It's just 1 prize card. But if I don't, it's gonna wipe my board. So I don't know. That's my biggest peeve.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
Alright,
that's absolutely for different discussion.
Yeah. So just curious. Before we hop into the next part, because I think we all got a lot to say on the next part, what's one piece of advice for any players or just really any people watching, whether they're new or experienced players, they're just getting into the game, they've been playing for years, something that you just want to tell them, spread the message about?
I can tell you from someone who absolutely crashed out at Baltimore 22, the biggest piece of advice that I can give you is just to relax when you're playing these big tournaments. I know it can be extremely overwhelming. I still get that feeling sometimes, but you just need to treat it like it's a giant local. And I feel that if you don't put yourself in mass pressure situation of where that you have to perform well and you have to do well, it'll trap you. And I feel that the more positive you are going into a regional or just a major event, I feel like that can I could feel like that could really help you out overall, just in however you play, placements, anything like that. Because if you stress out about it too much, you're gonna be overthinking it. So
Yeah. No, I think
That's
that's
just
an
my
awesome piece of advice. I think that's something great to share with people. Taking that breath just before you start the game, or even before you draw. That's something I do a lot, just to remind myself, because I freak out at especially regionals and stuff. Like right before I draw for a turn, I take a really just not sigh, because that could come off like rude or something. Just a deep breath to like ground myself, just bring myself back down. because even playing for a while, it's scary, especially the big tournaments. Like you said,
Exactly,
Baltimore, like there's a lot of anxiety that could come with playing and performing at that level.
Absolutely. I think when I was playing in Baltimore, which was my first regional, I think that
True, yeah.
one thing that's really that I do a lot is I think like 8 steps ahead, and sometimes I'll go to step 5 before I complete step 4. And just taking a second to like, even like you can call me for slow play. I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna think for like at least 10 seconds. Like, okay, here's what I can do, and I need to do it in this exact order, and I can't screw myself over. Another thing that really gets to people at regionals is like the amount of noise that you hear. A lot of the times, my opponent and I were like trying to chat, and I just couldn't hear her, or hear him, or hear them. Like it was like just so much going on, to where like I didn't want to seem rude because I wasn't answering them, but like, you know. And that's another thing too. Humanize your opponent. Like talk to them. Have like an actual genuine conversation while you're playing. Get the vibes good. Like if you're scared or something, just like chat with them. There was just one dude that was like playing item lock, and I somehow beat them with GM Pal. I'm not gonna explain how that happened, but you know, we were just talking, and you know, he's telling me about his kids. He's telling me about all this, and you know, it sort of like calms you down when you're having that conversation. Because right now you're seeing them as an enemy every single matchup. Just see them as like a friend, as a casual like play.
Yeah. I can absolutely attest to that. I had a half season where I was playing nothing but control, and what I found out is that a lot of people are very, they're very rude, or they're very against you if you're just playing the game normally. Have a conversation with them. Like, if you're going to be absolutely kicking their ass, you need to understand that you need to have give them a little bit of fun. There have been multiple instances where I played control, and my opponent would say that if it wasn't for you talking to me, I wouldn't have had a fun time. So always, like I said, keep your head on your shoulders. Don't overthink it, and then just treat your opponent like a human.
Yeah, no, I think that's an awesome
Yeah.
way to put it. I had one guy in my Pittsburgh run that I was playing against. He was playing Miraidon. I had Flying Pikachu VMAX in the active, nothing on the bench. And he just looked at me and he's like, "What can I do?" And I'm like, "My honest answer, or do you want me to like encourage you?" And he's like just giving it to me straight. And I'm like, probably Scoop, unless you play some evolution tech. Like there's not. And he just looked at me, laughed, and we were talking for like 5 minutes because we both got there early. And he's like, "I don't care enough to finish this match," but he literally looked at me. He's like, "Dude, you're a vibe. Like, can we just go get lunch and like eat?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." You know what I mean? It's taking the moments to just appreciate being with people. Don't be afraid to be the person to go step out with a stranger. You know, we're not like obviously don't somewhere if it makes you uncomfortable, but we're sitting in the venue next to thousands of people. I don't mind walking away with like a stranger surrounded by people just eating our lunches. And don't be afraid to ask your opponent to do that. You know, worst comes to worst, they're running to catch their group. They might just invite you to tag along. I know at Baltimore, there was a couple guys that did that with us, Avery. I forgot if I caught up with you or Jose, but they just asked, and I was like, "Oh, I'm running up with my group of friends," but like, yo, just tag along, like just come with. We're all talking about how our days are going. That's a great spot to build friends. I mean, that's where like Courtney and I, for anyone watching, like that's where we met each other now, is from a regional. So there's a lot of great connections you can meet from there just by talking and being friends, being friendly. Excuse me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's especially for me with the amount of friends that I've made, and the companions that I have. It wouldn't have been done without me taking that extra step and being like, "Hey, you person, you're cool. You want to talk?" And then, I guess there's
And it's stressful. I get it. Like social anxiety, it's gonna keep you in. I feel like everyone needs to take a step back. Like for most people playing at the regionals, and now I'm speaking to like the adult, like your own audience. I'm talking to the masters level up, or like the seniors. I think with some of the younger guys, the juniors, not trying to invalidate what's going on for them, but I think when you're that young, the social conscious level just isn't there. I think a lot of those kids find it easier to talk to each other because it's also a smaller event. There's just less of them. But for the Masters, when you're surrounded by over 1,000, over 1,500 other players, that is so intimidating to be like, how can I go talk to one person when there's so many people playing at a level? I think it's important to take a step back and remember we're all playing such a goofy hobby that all of us geek out about like crazy. If you're like, I don't even know what to go talk about, yo, just talk about Pokemon. I bet every single person in that venue, if you just ask them what their favorite Pokemon is, will geek out. If you ask them what and why, they'll geek out about it. you know, like, and it's not, there's a lot to overthink. You could prep like a small conversation piece like that just to help you jump in, and it'll naturally flow from there. You know, you could end up talking about what deck you're playing, what you're prepared for, what you don't want to see. You're already at a regional. There's already plenty of stuff you could talk about the here and now, and not have to worry about awkward pauses or not knowing what to say. Like, just talk about being there and being present, because it's a big event. Like for Avery, that was his first regional. I'm sure you had so much to say to people about just what was going on for you at your first one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
In round 5, I was paired up against a Gardevoir player, and on my left and on my right, they were both Chiampao players. And like as I'm going through my list,
So
they're like, Vulpix, what's this doing here? You know what I mean? Like they're playing the Iron Hands regular one, and I'm sitting here, I'm throwing down Palkia, I'm throwing down Vulpix, and they're like, yo, let me see your list afterwards. And that's another thing, you can just hand people your list after games, and you know, just compare them. Because, like, that's another thing that you can do. They'll be like, if you have a, like, I'm playing Secret Box. Like, when people see that in Chiampao, they're like, dude, what are you doing? Hold on, let me see this list real quick. And, you know, they go through the list, and you guys can have a whole conversation about it. Especially if you're playing a rogue deck.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
more or
for
less
sure.
how my channel got started. I, like, Rahul Reddy was one of the guys that I credit. I doubt he'll ever know how much of an impact he made, but playing against him and him not telling me he was a professional player that played at such a high level, but him looking at my deck, asking to see my list after we played, and we were both talking, like, shared our list. I had no idea who this guy was. This is my second regional. I'm just happy to, like, exist and be, at the time, 6-0-2, going into my last round. I was just, like, stoked to have made day 2. And he looked at me and he's like, dude, if you play decks like this all the time, like, you should make a channel. Like, people would love to see this. Like, you are a funny guy to listen to. You're a fun guy to talk to. Like, this would be cool to watch. And I was just happy to hear that from a person. And then 2 days after the regional, I was in my bed. I've got, like, trouble going to sleep, so I oftentimes watch videos like Bob Ross or something like that before I go to bed to help just bring me back down to earth. And I saw his face on a YouTube clip, and I'm like, oh, look at that, he's got a YouTube channel. And I click, and I see he's got thousands of subscribers, and he is doing a recap of Pittsburgh and talks about me in it. And I was like, what? Like, there's no way that he was this big a player. It blew my mind. So you know, some of these small conversations, like, you won't even realize who you're talking to, but they really can impact, like, if it wasn't for that conversation, like, that played such a critical role in me now sitting here on this podcast with two amazing people talking to you guys watching this. So yeah, there's a lot of great things that could come from these big events, even if they are scary at times.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Word. Well, if you guys are good, I believe we can jump into the next part, the part that's been sitting on the bottom of the screen that everyone has been watching for so long at this point. The top 5 cards that we will personally miss the most with the F block rotation. Just before we jump in, how do you guys feel about rotation? Like, is there anything, like, what are we leaving behind emotionally?
Emotionally, there was a lot. I had my first regional. I had my first actual, like, block of cards that I got genuinely serious within the game for. I also had a lot of different decks, and there was a lot of finding myself as a player within there. You know, like, I realized my love for, like, a glass cannon type architect, but I'm also I love doing math. So, like, when but not like any of the extra stuff. I mean, like, you know, I failed stats. I'm gonna be so real, you know. But, like, you know, just standard math, you know, like, that's when I sort of picked up Dragapult, and I'm like, wow, hold on, you know, this works. Or High Dragon, you know, you've seen me play High Dragon. I make that deck work, and I'm not gonna sit here and toot my own horn about it, but I can make High Dragon work. You know, I might even, you know, I might bring that somewhere special. I'm gonna let that sink for a little bit.
Well, next season.
But I love that deck. I love just, like, I like the numbers games. That's sort of like what it is with me a lot. And, you know, when I started off playing Greninja Break, and then I saw Radiant Greninja, I'm like, hold on, these have, like, a similar kind of vibe with them, and just stuff like that. And I just found a lot of more about me as a player and as a person when it comes to this card. So rotation's going to be a little bit personal, but because I'm playing Dragapult now, I lose next to nothing.
True.
I mean, I never played Lance. I never really played anything. I mean, I played Rotom and Luminion and
by the time
Force
you
Stone.
picked it up, it was, what, a couple weeks ago? Like, you already were just trying out post-rotation lists, so you didn't feel pressed to try Lance at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, I just, rather than the V's and Force Stone, I just threw in a Pidgey outline and an extra Badoo. Like, that's, you know, it's I lost almost nothing with rotation, so.
Courtney, how you feeling?
I would say for me, I can think similar to how this rotation fell. When I was playing for E Block, I was very bad, as I said, with this Steezler. But F Block was my biggest improvement of the 3 seasons of the 2 seasons I played, and I went from not doing so hot at Pittsburgh regionals with a local of mine to damn well almost making day two at the regional we met at in Charlotte.
Yeah,
And
you did have a good run.
Yeah, it was definitely one of my favorite runs, and it was
Yeah.
stopped by Azul.
Yes.
But it's fine.
Which is a
Yeah.
way to go down, to
Yeah.
be fair. Like
That's
yeah.
perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I have he was nothing but flowers and roses. He was great to talk to.
Yeah, but it's like you tell people your run was stopped by Azul, and they're like, nah, that's fair. Like it's not. Okay, that would do it.
Yeah. Azul had a good X2 run. Just starting out, what I think was like round 4, he was at X2, and then he just went all the way to I think round 10 before he got kicked out.
Yep.
And yeah, just overall, I've also just had the most amount of like networking in this format. I've done the most mentally I've done in both seasons. And I've just improved as a player. I do feel really good where I was. I have sadly lost a lot of cards for rotation. As I said, especially when we both saw each other for the first time. I was playing Shining Arcana,
You were.
and Stall.
Yep.
Stall is completely gone.
Telling the Arceus player
and
that. Yep. I hear you.
And Gardevoir's losing refinement. That's near as death's door, and I had to move on to different decks. I'm currently testing against Goldango, Pult, Raging Bolt is a little bit that I've heard of as well. But just it's very refreshing to have this new format. As I've talked before and as I've heard before, I think this format is going to be very interesting. Usually in the beginning of formats, the turbo decks are always the ones who are on top because of the uncertainty. And then most likely by the time we get to Destined Rivals, which is the next set after Journey Together, I feel like we'll probably refine the decks more.
I agree.
So I'm just excited to play. I'm just excited to play these decks right now.
Yeah. I hear you.
Because even though that Terra box is like 30% of the meta, 20%, it's very diverse. It's kind of in the same realm as when Regidrago was taking over, where it felt that below A2 you could just run to any deck.
Yeah.
And afterwards, we knew who the cream of the crop was.
Yeah, like even Dragon players, like some of them were playing Guja, relying on that a lot. Some people were playing Dragapult, relying on that. Other people were playing Raging Bolt, was in Regidrago for a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I think it'll be exciting to see what happens in rotation. I like that word refreshing. I think that's a really good word to adapt.
Yeah.
Adopt as the perspective for what's going on. Losing Arceus.
I'm tired of Radiant. Radiant Greninja being everywhere is just sort of like, I feel like when people start losing a lot of, I don't want to sound like, and it's going to sound a little bit mean, but I feel like a lot of cards within this block are kind of crutchy in a sense.
No,
and
they are,
after this, we're going to see a lot more from better players. And, the players that are relying on those as a crutch are going to have to adapt very, very quickly.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's I think it's like a bold way to put it, but I think it's a very accurate way to put it. I think some of the cards in this set are just really overpowered for how easy they are to use, and how easy they are to stick into so many different decks and situations. Like Radiant Greninja, Radiant Charizard are like two perfect examples of it. Like those aren't personally cards I'm gonna miss too much. Sure, they were awesome. I've had some great time playing with them. Sablezard is one of my favorite decks that I've ever played, which relied on Radiant Charizard, but it's not like Radiant Charizard as a whole is a complicated card to use for how strong it is. It's a basic that swings 250. Like your opponent played the game and is close to winning. It's easy to set up. So yeah, I think them being crutchy and now seeing more of a skill gap between players that are too used to using those as crutches, I think will appear at rotation. And like Courtney said, I think that feeds into turbo decks being better. Generally, turbo decks are a little bit easier, they're a little bit more straightforward, they're stronger, they're consistent. But what they have in easy to play, like playability, they lack in versatility. And I think as the format develops more and people get more comfortable, we're going to see more versatile decks that pop up that can take the turbo decks down easier. So yeah, I like that word, refreshing. It's going to be a good time to reset, play some new cards, and see what megas bring us.
They're gonna bring us a lot of pain, a lot of misery.
Single prize decks.
You know,
way to go.
I mean, that you can take 5 Riolus out, but that Mega Lucario is gonna be taking you out.
Yep.
Let's put it that way.
Yep. Word. Well, jumping into
Unless
our
you're playing
number
Headspot.
5 spot. So these are ordered from. There's gonna be 5 cards we each selected that we're gonna miss the most. It'll be all the way from like the 5th most to like the most, like what we're gonna be crying about on the inside. So what's up?
I can't see your screen anymore.
Oh yeah, well, it's not shared because I got all your card clips for the last part up there. Y'all know your list. Do we need a list? We could send that out real quick.
You know, I actually, fair enough.
have my
I got
list.
it. Yeah, I got it right here.
You got it? All right, perfect. I mean, we could all talk
Yeah.
about our own card. It's cool. Do we need pictures? I can send you guys pictures if you need. I have this as a Google Drive. I'll send it to you on Google
No,
Drive.
I don't need
I'm
visual.
reading them.
Okay.
I
It's
don't
like
need
I'm
visual
pretty sure you guys know.
verification of what I know I'm saying.
All right, perfect. Well, Courtney, your card is up first for me, so please enlighten Avery, who doesn't know yours.
So for my 5th most missed card will be Rotom V. I think that the instant charge ability is absolutely a fantastic starter, which is really funny because I don't believe in that season or that block. I played a deck with Rotom outside of control. Enabled a lot of decks to have a really strong opening hand if your opponent can disrupt it. It's overall really good as a support Pokemon. I just think it's really good. The 190 HP is all right for surviving a few smaller hits. For like example, like early game Charizard EX.
Yeah.
And it had its own little cute rogue deck architecture as well with Rotom V-Star.
Rotom V-Star, yes.
And I also had to play against it a few times at locals. But this overall instant charge was a very powerful ability that I do kind of hope it comes back in the future in some way.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be mad about that.
Yeah.
I think
just
instant charge is a fair.
Just to make sure it's balanced.
It's a 2 prize it's a low HP 2 prize that's, with the exception of Force Seal Stone, giving it usefulness outside of your first attacking turn. The fact that it ends your turn means you can't get any value out of it, essentially once you're attacking onwards, unless you've bricked, in which case you're kind of cooked anyway. So it's like having this as a little, like, I guess like a mini crutch, as Avery was talking about before. It's not a bad one though. I don't think it's unhealthy for the format. I like that. That's a very valid
Absolutely.
top 5. Avery, please enlighten us.
All right, so my number 5 pick is going to be Palkia V-Star. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I was a really big Chiampao fan, and I still enjoy the deck to this day, even with rotation going to be taking a hit. I'll try and find a way to make it work. All right, I got this crazy list. I got crazy lists for days.
True.
But the thing about Palkia is that if you're playing a water deck, you can turn it into a water box deck with the help of Palkia V-Star.
Yeah.
Subspace Swell is a brilliant attack. 60 damage and then 20 more for each bench Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's. You're already swinging harder than Terapagos. It has the same sort of idea behind it. Except it's not just your bench Pokemon, it's all of your bench opponent's Pokemon as well. So if you lead the game with something like a Palkia V, your opponent is going to be under instant pressure. They know what Palkia V-Star does. If they're playing a deck that relies on Buddy Buddy Polphin, they're going to be pretty hesitant playing that one into the second, especially if you went first, because that means you can evolve immediately after. And if you play something like a Earthen Vessel and Ultra Ball those energy away, you're putting those right back onto Palkia, and you're swinging hard really, really quickly. Another thing about Palkia, you can throw the Forest Scale Stone on there. You can go ahead and grab whatever card you need at whatever point that you absolutely need it. You can Arven for it. You can Arven for Evolution Incense. You can Arven for the Ultra Ball. You can Force Heal Stone for the Earthen Vessel. There's a lot that you can do to sort of get Palkia rolling. And it's not just going to sit there on your bench. That V-Star ability, 3 water energy from your discard wherever you want. Now, I don't know if it's still broken on TCG Live. We're going to have to test that out in a minute.
Some
unfortunately.
Jolteic's broken,
yeah.
Charizard's not.
But when you have, you can throw the energy on something like a Regigigas before it rotated, manual attached to that Regigigas. You can throw it on whatever you want. That's why sort of when I went to Baltimore, I was playing Water Box, which was Vulpix V-Star, Palkia V-Star, and Chiampao. And most of the time, I would be using that Palkia V-Star, what is it? What's the ability name?
Star Portal.
Star Portal.
Star Portal, yeah.
You do
I would
need
be
the
throwing the
pictures.
energy onto a Vulpix. I do need the
You
pictures.
do need the pictures.
It's been a rough week, all right?
Buddy, look
I'm
up.
alive.
I'm not
They're
recording
a
your
visual
screen.
learner, all right.
Pull up
Listen,
TCG
I-
player
I-
while you talk.
I didn't come here to get bullied.
Then why'd you hop on the pod?
Anyway, so you throw the energy on Vulpix, you throw the energy on itself, you throw it on whatever attacker that you so please, and it's just an overall very versatile card.
Mhm.
If your deck has water energy, you can throw in a 1/1 line, a 2/2 line, whatever you feel like. I feel like Palkia V-Star is going to be very, very missed by a lot of people, and Terapagos taking the spot is something I'm not very fond of, because Terapagos already swings for a lot less. We're losing double turbo, and it's a basic with 230 HP. That thing gets cooked by almost everything in the format right now, unless you're playing it with Cloth, in which case you will absolutely win a regional, apparently.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm
07
gonna-
Natalie.
I did like when I saw Natalie only get
We
to
were
play
hurt.
like 5 turns in 3 games. I was
We
actually
were
hurt about that.
yeah.
That was so sad. But yeah, I think overall Palkia V-Star is going to be one of the cards that I miss the absolute most, just because of the way I used to play it and the versatility behind it. Very aggressive card, very fun, very awesome.
Yo, after hearing y'all talk about your number 5s, it's hitting me how like self-centered my top 5 come from. Like they're I don't care about how much people played my cards, because a bunch of them really weren't played much, but what they meant to me, like my number 5 was Panic Mask. I love Panic Mask. I think this is one of the first cards that one of the archetypes that I've always, not archetypes, but I guess styles of play that I love playing a lot. Like Avery talked about how he likes like kind of a numbers game with Pokemon. I love dealing with like annoying effects, annoying abilities, like just I like annoying my opponent in every way I can. From yapping their ear off to Panic Mask, preventing all damage done to the Pokemon it's attached to if they have 40 HP or less remaining is a really specific effect that in the right situation, if you could predict the meta in the right way, is so clutch. Like I know the first time I used this was my Gardevoir tech, and it helped my Gardevoir match up substantially in Arceus, Flying Pikachu, Tapu Koko, because it prevented my opponent from one-shotting any of those Pokemon with a Drift Bloom. And Monkey Dory wasn't in the format yet, so they couldn't use that either. It forced them to two-shot. And just because they were two-shotting meant that I can then play Vacuum to take a KO on whatever they just used and set up, whether it was Drift Bloom or Screamtails, or and then I could take a KO, and then they had to attack me the next turn. So I was getting like much more value, and I think that this one item taught me really what like getting full value is out of certain cards and fixing the prize trade in like different ways. So yeah, Panic Mask did a lot for me as a player in that sense, and I think it's just like the name speaks to what happens when your opponent. There were so many people who picked it up at Pittsburgh and were like, well, what does this do? And they'd be like, oh, it's not bad. And then I mathed out my matchup against them because I did a lot of testing. They didn't necessarily know how this was going to come into play, and they're sitting there with 30 HP, or most of the time it was 20 HP. And they're like, I now see how this is a problem, and I don't play any Lost Vacuum. Or they got rid of it early, and then I revealed it. So yeah, no, I got Vacuum in the 5 spot.
Awesome.
Up next, Courtney, if you will.
I would say for my number 4 spot, I would give you Luminion V.
Your package V
Once
supporter.
again,
deal.
I'm very much at least these two I didn't really use, but I know the significance of a sign.
Yeah.
Just being able to have that extremely low HP two prizer has such a strong ability to grab a supporter of your choosing, and then especially later on in the format when you can use Force Heal Stone, I think that absolutely made those two, my number 5, my number 4 pick, completely necessary for a lot of decks, especially for like Charizard and before rotation Dragapult.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the fact that when Force Heal was introduced, it gave those two cards more use. But it was a very balanced card. Being able to basically get hit by anything easily reminded me a lot of I don't know why I'm blanking on the card right now. It reminded me of like Dedenne, of where that you just had very tiny energy HP, and you had really a powerful ability.
Crobat was the E-Block one. That was a similar manner.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I would say that would be my number 4 spot. Would be Mignon V.
Oh, it's valid. Avery, what you got in your 4?
My number 4 spot has to go to the absolute Arceus among us, Bidoof and Bibarel. Not Bidoof specifically, but Bidoof is just an absolute tank in itself. I mean, look at that thing; it's beautiful. But Bibarel is one of the best draw supporters that we've had in the format for the longest time. When Brilliant Stars came out, we saw the Bibarel, and everyone was on it. Typically within formats, you have one like V or VMAX or whatever, a 2 prizer or a 3 prizer that has a similar ability. It might be drawn until you have 6. It might be drawn until you have 7, or a Roblox Pokemon. We'll put it that way. That can let you draw until you have a certain amount of cards in your hand. But when Bibarel came out, it was only a stage 1, which was very easy to get out because we had a decent Bidoof that blocked damage on it from the bench, so your opponent couldn't snipe it. And then on top of that, you evolve that straight into the Bibarel. Bibarel is going to be an amazing draw supporter. It doesn't attack, so you don't need to worry about, making it fit within your deck. Something like Radiant Greninja, where it gets most of the benefit from a water type deck that can use it to be an attacker in a very rare circumstance. Like something like Lost Box used to play Radiant Greninja to not only draw cards, but to also be a backup attacker. Bibarel didn't need to do that because its attack was horrible. 3 energy. If you flip tails, it doesn't do anything. You flip heads, you do a measly 100 damage. But the ability to just
how many
draw.
times I've used that attack. It's a lot.
I hit it once. I hit it once, and that was the best moment. I lost the game, but it was the best moment I think I've had. I think that every deck needs its own way to get cards into the field, and I think Bibarel just did that the most for a lot of players. And now, with rotation, we don't really have much of that at all. I mean,
No, yeah, you're right.
we have Pidgeot to grab whatever you want out of the deck, but that's really
That's
it.
a search engine.
Any
not a
sort
draw
of-
engine. They're very
Yeah.
different.
Draw engines
Well, that and
are
Jewel Seeker.
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
We don't really have a Pokemon that really sits on the bench and helps you out as much anymore. And I think that that's going to be something that I, along with a lot of other people, miss. It's just being able to, if your hand's low, if you just had an explosive turn or something like that. There's a lot of turns where I just end up with 0 cards in my hand, admittedly, because I just flow through my entire deck. I get my attacker set up, I get my whole board set up, and then I'm in top deck mode for a little bit. Bibarel stopped that from happening, because if I ever put myself in a dangerous situation like that, I'll just industrious incisors for 4, 3. Sometimes even getting that 1 extra card is huge because you don't have another way to do that, and that card could save the game for you. There's a lot of times where I'm sure millions of players across the globe have had to draw 1 card off an ability, and they got the card they needed to close out the game.
Squavette.
And I think that with the
Squavette
loss
for
of a
one.
exactly, Squavette into Bibarel
Yep.
is going to be an insane combo, and I
That
think
will be missed.
that's something like that is going to be very, very missed by a lot of people, especially me, because I played it with every deck that I possibly could play it in. But as Pidgeot came out, I sort of played more supporter draw and less of Bibarel, and it's kind of sad to see Bibarel go. I'm gonna miss it. It's sitting in my closet right now. I went through it to go get the cards for this Rogue Regional deck that you guys are gonna be very, very much a
True.
fan of. But
Yeah.
I can't stand to see the little guy go. I can't stand it. It's gonna hurt.
I think what's nice about both these Pokemon, though, like yours and Courtney's in your 4 spots, They're both support Pokemon that Pokemon has reused. B-Barrel's Industrious Incisors and Luminion's Luminicide are not new abilities. Luminion V is the same as Tapu Lele. Different attacks, obviously, but like the same low HP, 2-prize Pokemon that search as a supporter. B-Barrel and Octillery are the exact same card, different HP, different attacks again. But I'm excited to see these Pokemon come back, because Tapu Lele, Octillery, Luminion, and B-Barrel aren't necessarily the most popular Pokemon. I mean, Tapu Lele is pretty popular, but the other three aren't super popular. And I kind of like the way Pokemon makes people use, I guess, less popular Pokemon so often through Pokemon cards printed like this. I like these types of Pokemon being support Pokemon. So I'm going to be confident in saying I believe Pokemon will reprint these abilities. I'm excited to see who gets them.
Give it to Cynthia Spiritomb, please. That'd be fire.
Well, I don't necessarily want it in a Cynthia's card. I'd need it in like a general card for everyone.
It's got to be in a Cynthia's card. It's got to be.
Wild. I do like how your two Pokemon are Pokemon that my number 4 favorite card that I'm going to miss loves to see hit play, and mine is going to be Snorlax Stall. I know that Snorlax being on the same slide as B-Barrel and Luminion does warm my heart as well as Snorlax's for one last time. A video that went up today was my last channel tribute to Snorlax, but again, all of my cards are picked for selfish reasons. I really didn't think this through, huh? This is the first deck I ever brought to a regional in my life. It was before Erica's Invitation. It was before Pokeflute. You had to use Pulling Currents Manaphy to get Pokemon out of their hand. You had to use Echoing Horn to get it out of discard pile. There was no Airy. No Erica's Invitation. Like, there's so much that Snorlax has gotten since I brought it to my first regional. And I'm pretty sure I tied most of the games. I don't remember my exact record. I do remember I had 4 ties at the end of it. And I was happy that I did slightly better than break even. I think I had like 1 win, whatever, 1 win, 4 losses, 4 ties, and to me that was like the most fun I ever had. I did awful, but I had so much fun playing. I had 2 wins, 3 losses, 4 ties. Yes, okay, because it was counting up. I remember it as like a little staircase. I'm like, I want to complete my staircase, to Josh, who I went with. Anyway, sorry, I digress. It's been such a fun card for me to play, and I think when I first played Stall is when I truly understood so many decks and I memorized so many lists, and I think that's why I know lists very well now, is because that just has slowly built and adapted as different decks come and go and change. When I first played Stall and brought it to a regional, I kind of created this way of playing where my goal as a player is to know my opponent's deck better than them. I will know how many supporters, how many switch cards, how many item cards, how many energy cards you play in your deck better than you do. And I think that's a very unique trait to control players in Pokemon. Courtney, I'm sure you could attest, you played a lot of control. That's a skill you have to develop if you want to become a good control player, and I think that's something that I appreciated then, but because of that, and then taking a step back, like, it was a pretty rough record. I had a lot of fun. I'm really happy this was my first regional, but I definitely need to get better at it. It's something I've really honed and got better at, so I really do love what Snorlax did for me as a player. I loved what it did for the format. It always kept people and decks in check. I know a lot of people say they'd rather gouge their eyes out against playing Snorlax control. I think that's a really negative and pessimistic view of looking at it. I think it just forces you to play in a way you're not normally used to. And when you're playing a strategy game, I think that's a good thing to have to do every now and then. And if it's so easy to just stick an extra switch card in your deck or a Turo, which Snorlax can't get rid of, and you're not accepting that you need a tech for this like every other deck, then you might deserve to lose to it if you don't give this deck the respect it needed. So I got Snorlax in the 4. I'll love it. I'll miss it. It is in my Pokemon card Hall of Fame, my personal one.
Yeah. And sort of like to go off of what you said, how many times on the podcast do we need to remind people that Stall is going to be on the come up? How many times?
Yeah, and it does. It's like, just stick an extra Turo. Guardy players taking out the Turo, the extra Turo from their deck, now they'll have problems in the Stall. If you just respect that matchup, you understand you can use Turo in other situations. It was a very manageable matchup for many decks. People just never wanted to accept that they had to deal with it, and that's why it took down a few regionals, so I have always liked when Snorlax stalled as well, and I will continue to like it doing well until the day it rotates, which is sadly getting very, very soon. Up
Yeah,
next.
I will
Oh,
definitely miss it.
jump in, Courtney. This is your
Sorry.
deck. No, please. You played a whole lot of control.
Yeah, my last hurrah with a controlled deck was Toronto of this season. I played just Pidgeot control while my partner and her group played Snorlax. One did make day two, and I can't remember exactly where Cyrus landed, Toronto. Um, but yeah, it like I personally have a love for a Snorlax stall. If we had a top 10, it would easily be 6. Just as a personal love for it. It was my second best placement, and just it's a really fun card and deck, like you said, where it keeps a lot of decks in check that think that they're the tough shit.
Hey, the
And then you
biggest and
go,
the baddest, and then they can't retreat their mana
yeah,
fee.
yeah, it's
like
like,
Coke.
give me that Luminion.
Yeah, exactly. Give me
Good
that Beaver. Give me that Luminion. Give me that Rotom. Give me half this top 5 list.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Speaking of stall, I think one of the best memories I have is when there was like 6 or 7 of us in this call, all playing stall in the tournament.
Oh, that's
that was
so
probably the
real.
best thing ever.
That was a really fun night.
There was literally like it actually was 6 of us all playing stall in the same tournament, literally just having 6 games talking about which Pokemon do we all have stuck in the active spot at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I love stall, man. It's got some good memories for me associated with it. I'll be sad to see this one go. Speaking of cards that are in stall, Courtney, your number 3 is one that has been included in stall many times.
Very much so, especially recently because of
Yes.
the uptick of Lugia players.
Yep.
My number 3 pick is Temple of Sinnoh. I am a fan of Temple of Sinnoh. I had to use this quite a bit when it came to Lost Box in the in between of Lugia getting a pickup and Lost Box using Jet Energy. Jet Energy was absolutely really hard to go with, especially with Stall. But that Temple of Sinnoh made it all the best. I know that a few of my teammates almost got at least one got near day 2 at I think it was Puerto Rico due to them. I think if I remember correctly, they were overteching for Lugia, or they might have been underteching. But like that Temple of Sinnoh, so good. It's absolutely crucial for a lot of decks that move instead of using like a switch or a Turo, like you stated. I do really feel like that's a major part in how all happened, because now with Knuckle, wonderful 10 damage move, the fact that you can't stop Jet Energy is gonna be really bad.
I agree. Definitely a card I'm gonna hate to see go. I have used it in a few decks, definitely stall.
Absolutely.
Another card that just kept certain decks in check, and I think people might not appreciate its full value until something with a different special energy takes off. And they're like, I wish Sinnoh was back. Avery, who you got on in your 3?
For number 3, I gotta go with Forest Sealstone. Forest Sealstone was an amazing card. It was searchable with Arven, and with that, you pair it with Luminion V. Luminion V, you grab Arven, you grab Forest Sealstone, and you grab something like an Ultra Ball, and then you have a stage 2 out on turn 2. When I play, I'm a very aggressive type of player. I like to get out my attackers immediately in the fastest way possible, and I want to put immediate pressure on you as quick as I possibly can. Because when I put pressure on somebody, I can get into your head, and I can let you know, like when I play High Dragon, for example, and I do Obsidian, like on turn 2, I'm essentially telling you, you got to figure this out or you lose the game next turn.
True.
Especially if you're playing something that, you're playing Future Box, for example. I throw 130 on Iron Hands, Iron Crown, and you're active. You got to figure that out, otherwise you lose. And I sort of like the ability to be able to play Arven, grab like a Red Candy / Ultra Ball, and a 4 Sealstone, and then grab the other piece that I need to get going. When I play something like Dragapult, like Dracloak is an amazing draw support, don't get me wrong, But when I'm playing it with Pidgeot, I'm not really reliant on Dracloak. I will rare candy into Dragapult more than I rare candy into Pidgeot sometimes. Because I just want to be able to say to my opponent, listen, I've already got damage counters on your active and that. I get one boss, you know, you don't have an option anymore. And I feel like Forest Sealstone allowed aggressive players to be able to popularize the habit of getting what they need when they want it and when they need it. You could grab any card in the game with it from your deck. Very, very beneficial, especially if you're playing something like a Dusknoir line. You have Dusclops, but you need that Dusknoir to be able to take the KO on the turn. Or you need a rare candy and you have the Dusknoir in hand, you have a Duskull on your bench. You know, there was a lot of ways that even just one card can get you what you need. And that's why Pidgeot EX is such a fire card and one of the most popular search engines in the entire game right now. Almost any deck can play it. Even though it's a stage 2, I mean, you can just chuck in, if you're playing a stage 2 deck, you have rare candies, it's going to be a thing, you have 4 or 3. Just throw in your Pidgeots, and then anytime you want, just grab what you need. You can search for Boss, you can search for any type of Gust, and I think that a card like Forest Sealstone leaving, although it wasn't as effective as Arceus V-Star, which lets you grab 2, Forest Sealstone could be thrown into anything. And I feel like that's one of the things that a lot of people are going to absolutely miss when it comes to a card like that. Stall is going to miss it. Almost every deck in the format is going to miss being able to grab it. If you played a V, you played a Forest Sealstone. It was almost a guarantee.
Oh, that's fair. For my number 3 pick, I don't have much to say about it. It's Double Turbo Energy. I've used this card in so many different decks. I think so many goofy rogue decks to meta decks have relied on Double Turbo Energy for consistency to attack quicker. Kind of like you said, kind of feed off that turbo. Like Miraidon using this on Iron Hands or even Mew EX just to get themselves going a little bit faster. Losing DT, I think, is going to be a big hit to the format when we don't have a guaranteed double colorless energy in some regard coming back. You know, we had DCE, then we had Twin Energy, now Double Turbo Energy, and now it's leaving and we don't have a replacement. And I think, at least for myself, I know some of the decks I've had the most fun playing, like, as of recent. Like, I'm thinking any Arceus V-Star deck, of course, but also Mousehold EX, Wigglytuff EX, Blissey EX. Like, a lot of these normal box decks rely on double colorless. Lugia V-Star, for example. Of course, that's another card that's rotating, but I think losing DT is going to hit the format in much more subtle ways, and I think hit me personally in a lot of the rogue decks I cook. This is a card I rely on, even if it's just a 1 or 2 of. I rely on those 1 or 2 copies of it heavily, so I will definitely be missing DTE when it goes.
Yeah.
Next up, in the number 2 spot, Courtney, what you got?
Thank you. I do want to point out, I do want to correct myself. I do believe that my comment related to one of my teammates with over-checking for Lugia, I think that was actually at a different regional. I just want to clear that up. For number 2, I would say it's a card as a Guardian-bot that I absolutely despised when it happened. Was Lost Vacuum. This is a stronger than a lot of people think ability to just remove a tool off of your opponent's yours or your opponent's board. Like, it was universal across it. I felt like that ability to just pull from anywhere is really good, on top of it also just tossing one of your own cards. We've all definitely had points in games where you see your opponent just putting down a Forest Sealstone, not using it, and you go, okay, sniping that with a Lost Vacuum. And that's most likely their only one. And for Gardevoir, we all dread seeing that Bravery Charm go on a fully decked out Drifloon.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, like, and just overall, like, also for Lost Box, having the ability to put 2 cards most likely into your Lost Zone is extremely powerful for early rotation turbo Lost Box. I ran that myself at a cup that was at a regional. I can't remember which regional it was. I think it might have been Baltimore or NAIC 24, where it was just, like that was probably the most fun I had with Lost Box. Out of the 7 games I played, 3 of the 4, I had 7 in my Lost Zone turn.
I believe
and like, it's just, it was just run, run, run. It was so good. Yeah, I think the versatility of this card is exactly why I put it in my number 2 spot.
Nah, that's fair. Avery, who you got in the 2?
My number 2 spot is going to go to a card that I didn't appreciate much while it was in Standard, because I think Lance is just an insane card. Searching your deck for 3 Dragon Pokemon and just putting them into your hand, that is crazy, especially when Regidrago was popping off. That's 3 attackers that you can use your Apex Dragon, I believe the attack name is, and just grab whatever one of those and just do whatever you want with it. And I think that Lance, as someone that's moving on to Dragapult post-rotation, much like 80% of the players in the format, I think that it's going to be a card that, while I played it a little bit in my pre-rotation build, I'm going to miss a lot because it just allowed you to get 3 Jacloaks out after you buddy pop in and you have like a GP out in the active or something like that. Being able to, or if you have a rare candy in hand, or 2 rare candies in hand, or a rare candy in Arvin, there was a lot of possibilities that Lance could get you to get as many attackers or as many draw engines as you could possibly want. And I think that as a card, Dragon decks have been either good or not good. There's never really like a middle of the road Dragon attacker as of recent. I mean, we had Regidrago that was sitting in bulk binders for how long? Until Kyurem came out.
A couple years.
Yeah, like we have Dragapult that came out, and it was like, wow, this thing is crazy. And in between then and there, like, yeah, there have been a couple that might have been able to be put in a rogue deck, but like not really succeed in any sort of higher level tournament than like a weekly tournament at your locals. Yeah. So I think that Lance as a card is very, very powerful. If it came out for any other typing, it would be thrown into fires. There would be Lance burnings across the entire country. You know what I mean? Like, let this come out for a psychic deck. Let it be a psychic.
Oh my lord!
Oh Jesus Christ! Yo, if Gardevoir had this, I would have switched to Yu-Gi-Oh in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I would like to point out when Regidrago V first was out, if you're saying that his psychic Apex Dragon should have came out in Silver Tempest, Mewtwo V Union was still in format.
Mewtwo V Max. Oh my gosh! I didn't even think of that. Yeah. No, this card is definitely a strong one. That you said it well. I'd never really appreciated it until recent, but now it's a very impactful card.
I'm glad it was for Dragon.
Value more, yeah, and expanded. It'll always be there for expanded to help out too.
Everything's that expanded. It's a mess. All right, Pokemon needs to show some love.
True. My number 2 spot. Again, it's really not for the format. These, I don't know what else to say other than Radiant Jirachi is my goat. I Live and Die by Astral Misfortune. Entrusted Wishes. Die by it. Avery did die by it on the Rogue Regional, actually. He lost round 1 to Astral Misfortune. I have used this card at very high levels of play. I brought it to Baltimore Regionals. What did I take? I took 3-4 KOs with it. I used it. I got people to use its ability something like 12 times or something like something ridiculous. Or oftentimes when I would play it, it would sit there. My opponent won't KO it, so it'll just sit there and be an easy target for me to Thornton into what I do need to set up. And a lot of times that's in a lock deck like Noivern or Ogerpon or something like that. But Radiant Jirachi is just, I think, one of the most fun cards I've had. A small saying between my friend group when we play in real life that started when I was originally testing for Stall, my first regional, was if my opponent is having none of the fun, that means I'm having all of the fun. And that started with Stall, but then it came to Jirachi because now everyone, Avery, you can confirm, at that Rogue Regional hated me for Jirachi. No one wanted it. No one wanted the smoke.
I didn't hate you. But I was upset because you did that to me while Baltimore testing too.
That's true. Jose crashed out multiple times.
6 energy. This man took out my only GM bout. I was ruined that night.
Rachel's, I think, only game where she rage quit a middle of the match playing with me was when Radiant Jirachi KO'd her. And she's like, that's a stupid attack. I hate that attack. Radiant should not have attacks that overpowered. And I'm looking at her. I'm like, you're using Radiant Charizard in your Charizard EX deck. What about overpowered are we talking about? I have to flip 2 coins. I love it. I love it so much. And I also think that this is, because I say all the time, I hate attacks that are you instantly KO your opponent's active. I think Jirachi is really the only fair way to do it. It's a 25% chance that you knock out a Pokemon. It doesn't matter how good your board state is. It doesn't matter how fast you got 10 cards in the Lost Zone. It doesn't matter how fast you Dark Patch Manual attach Sada. You simply DTE, which is the number 3, into Jirachi, which is the number 2, and you hope you flip those 2 heads. And I don't know. I've come to love Jirachi as a Pokemon because of this card. It's one of the cards that has actually done that for me. So I do want to put Jirachi up here.
One of the cards of all time, most certainly.
One of the cards
Absolutely.
of all time. Now, down to our final cards. The cards we will miss the most, at least for me. The card that I now have a shadow box with my evolution line and some of my favorite partners with it in my apartment for it. Our number 1 picks. Courtney, please take us home.
Now, I would like to start out by saying this entire recording, I have heard nothing but harassment to this card.
That's
I
true.
think, to be honest,
Yep. Yeah, you right.
I think personally it's a really good card. I think it's pretty balanced until a lot of cards were able to sync with it.
Like
my number 1 pick is exactly. And my number 1 pick is Radiant Greninja. I think, in my opinion, that concealed card ability, it was possibly one of the best draw abilities of this format. And also having the ability to take 2 90 swings anywhere on the board was a very good, especially even like before, I would say like Baxcalibur, Palkia made it really annoying. So annoying, in fact, that I think that was the reason why I crashed out even after Baltimore, because during that time that was actually no, that was Baltimore because it was Ultra Radiance format.
Yeah.
And just like it was such a one prize. I wouldn't say a liability to itself, but to others, it was very much the threat, and just it being a really good support card for other decks that don't necessarily use the attack. For example, Gardevoir loved that ability. As a Guardy bot, that concealed cards was perfection. And a lot of decks that benefit from energy and discard also really enjoyed it. Now, we did go over the fact that Greninja is a very popular stall target. And that's the beauty of it. It's a support card that is a one of low HP, one prizer that you can pretty easily take down or easily stall. Mm-hmm. And I think that's my opinion on how balanced it is, just because of how easy you can take it out. Even though it's a very powerful attack, extremely good ability. Just know that I've had a lot of games where it's like, oh, you can pull up that Greninja? Well, next time I'll have a Manaphy. Mm-hmm. You just need to adapt to some of these cards. And if you don't, you'll be left in the dirt. Just get better.
That's fair.
Real.
That's fair. I think Greninja said that many times to many people. You never saw Palkia without Greninja. But my god, did you see Greninja without Palkia in so many decks. And I think this card being in a number 1 spot for at least one of us. I think Avery very well could have thrown this card up there for himself too. It's a popular card. It's a card that people love, people are going to miss dearly, and one of the most impactful cards that I think personally has ever been printed, at least since I've been playing the game. I've not seen many cards shake up a format in the way Greninja has. Avery, if you would like.
Oh boy, here we go.
Number 1.
All right. My number 1 card that we're losing. I'm already getting emotional, man. My number 1 card that we're losing the rotation is going to be Irida, at least for me. Irida has a very, very special place in my heart because it paired so well with my favorite deck, at least as of recent, Chien-Pao. Now, the reason that it paired so well with Chien-Pao is because Chien-Pao needs Baxcalibur to function. I mean, even the Pokemon Company knew this. If you go ahead and you watch the trailer for Journey Together, the set, I mean, you had Chiampao and Baxcalibur throwing hands with Charizard, which was fire to see in the trailer.
True.
But that just goes to show that Baxcalibur almost essentially needs Irida to function. There isn't very much water support for evolution as much as there was for a lot of other typings. And Arctobax is never something that you want to have to say you're going to evolve into. You played Irida, you played 3 copies or 4 copies of it, depending on how you played the deck.
Rare Candy, man. How many times
That's Rare Candy. You saw Irida hit the table?
Oh, I've heard that too many times.
I'm gonna Irida, or if you already had one of the pieces in hand, you already had the Baxcalibur, or you had an Ultra Ball in hand to get the Bax, or you had a Rare Candy already, you can Irida for the Radiant Greninja. You could be like me and get the Wellspring Mask Ogerpon with the Irida, and something a little bit different. You know, spice it up a little bit. Irida, single prize Kyogre, exactly. Irida had so much versatility, and you see it even in decks that aren't really, you know, you play, like Palkia. You play Irida with Palkia builds. You play Irida with, some of the, Ogerpon,
At one point in time, especially recent, God of War also played Irida.
For Manaphy,
yep, Rare Candy, you grab the Manaphy, Radiant Greninja, exactly. If your deck played Radiant Greninja, you could chuck in an Irida and people wouldn't bat a second eye at you because it's like, okay, you're grabbing Radiant Greninja. Yeah, makes sense. And I think that a card like this is very, very beneficial to the decks that I loved to play. I mean, I brought this thing to my first ever massive tournament, and it did me really well. It did me well for my first, like, massive tournament. You know, I had the nerves and everything like that. And I think that Irida, as far as a card, is one of the best support cards that we've had in recent time. It doesn't look like much on the surface, but what you can get accomplished with a card like this, especially off like a top deck, especially if you're playing a deck that relies on something to be able to grab a water Pokemon, or like a Rare Candy if you're playing a Stage 2 water deck, to be able to just get that out. I played it with Blastoise EX, because Blastoise EX is also a very fun attacker. There's just a lot that you can do with Irida, and I think that its inclusion in many, many decks will be missed, and decks are going to die because of it rotating. And that's part of the reason why I put it in my #1 spot, is that Chiampao is going to have a very, very rough time losing it. I mean, you're playing Grand Tree. I mean, how much more of a reach can you really get to be able to bring this deck back? Let's be real. Until something like Irida comes out again, which it probably won't for the longest time because of how good it is. A lot of decks have been riding on this card for the longest time, and it's going to be very unfortunate to see it go, especially as someone who loves Chiampao. I love that deck to pieces, but seeing it hit the expanded block and all of the nonsense that comes with it is going to be rough for me to see.
Yeah, I hear you, man. You've been using this card forever. I don't know what I'm going to do when we do a lot of our testing and I don't hear you say Irida for Bax or Candy. I'm curious to see where it takes us. I know in my #1 spot is a card that there's been many impactful people, don't get me wrong, that have helped me create this channel again, that's giving me the space to talk to all of you and sit here with these two amazing people and just, I guess, publicly have this like awesome conversation. Arceus V-Star is, to zero people's surprise, my #1 card that I will miss the most. There have been, like I said, plenty of people that have helped me get to a point where I had the confidence to be like, maybe people would actually want to watch me make my random decks. None of that would have ever happened if it wasn't for Arceus V-Star. This originally started out as a card I despised. I hated this card when it dropped. When it was Arceus Inteleon. And I was playing Blissey V. And I was like, fine, I'll adapt. I'll play the Reggies, which, by the way, the Reggies are my #6. All of them together, though, not just one in specific. They are my #6 card. I actually had a lot of trouble not putting them in the #1. But anyways, Arceus V-Star was a card I hated, and then I came to love when I bought Arceus Duraludon VMAX. And I actually just today, at the time of this recording, which is a few days by the time this video has gone up, I posted on Twitter I saw someone do like a tribute picture with Lost Box with every card they had ever played in a Lost Box deck in an in-person tournament. And I'm like, that's sick. I really want to do that with Arceus for like a little Twitter post about what this card is meant to me. And I remember, Avery, you and me were sitting in the Discord call when I started doing that. I was taking out literally every card I'd ever played with Arceus. And I realized it wasn't that I didn't have enough space on the playmat for all of those cards. I didn't have enough space on my entire kitchen table for all of those cards. So I had to take away every single trainer and only put across 2 playmats every Pokemon I've paired with Arceus V-Star at an in-person tournament. And I think, I counted not 64 different individual cards, 64 different Pokemon, period. Like, this card, I don't, like, that's the thing I struggle with the most going into rotation, and I think that's why I latched onto the word refreshing. I'm battling between refreshing and there being such a void for a rogue deck player on not having something that is so versatile and you can partner with so many things. Arceus has meant a lot to me between Trinity Nova setting up so many V Pokemon, V Stars, Basic Vs, V Maxes, to create so many different styles of play, between Starbirth being the precursor for Forest Seal Stone. Starbirth is the original Pidgeot V Star that, we all pretty much abuse now in so many different decks. Starbirth was the way to be. And I think most of my top 5 you could stick in one deck, with the exception of Snorlax Stall, and even that you could stick in an Arceus V-Star deck. I mean, there's no limits. If you say there's Arceus V-Star in your deck, I don't care what you're playing, I'd probably be like, yeah, I could see how that could kind of make sense. And I don't know if we'll ever get a card like that again. So, to Arceus V-Star and to anyone else who has used it once or many times, I'm sure you'll know what I mean when you say this deck is consistent, it's fun, it always seemed to get the job done. It got me my first, and only so far, my day 2 at a regional, and an undefeated day 1 at that. And it's gotten me a lot more success past that as well. So thanks to Arceus and all the other cards I've used thus far. Anyways, if you guys are all good, I mean, we got one last part to hit up for the pod.
I'm perfectly good.
Let's
do it. So, if you guys do not know, who wants to go first, by the way? We got Who's That Pokemon for the last part.
I think our special guest should go first, or decide.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
You want to? Our guest is guessing said card, or pick it like?
I can guess first.
Okay, I was like, that doesn't.
All
I
right.
don't know which part our guest is doing. Courtney will be guessing said card, so I'm just gonna pull up an image of that card. Courtney, I'm gonna send it to you in a second. Avery, can you just explain the rules of this game for us?
All right, chat. So here are the rules to Who's That Pokemon. Number 1, it has to be within the standard format. Number 2, it has to be a Pokemon itself. It cannot be a Pokemon featured on an item card. It cannot be a Pokemon featured on an energy card. Those exist, believe it or not. It cannot be a Pokemon featured on... it has to be within a standard set. It has to be a standard Pokemon card with a Pokemon as the main forefront of it to make more sense. It has to... is that really it as far as like the visual picture goes?
Yeah,
like
pretty much. I don't know why I'm having so much trouble just moving this thing into field. Whatever. If it's not perfect, it's not.
Nah, you're good. So once a player chooses a Pokemon, now it can be a regular art, it could be a full art, it can be an illustration rare, it could be anything. As long as the card is of a Pokemon, you can use it. You take a small snippet of any portion of that Pokemon. It has to be of the Pokemon, or it has to be within the snippet. That is what you're going to use to try and guess the Pokemon. Now, you get 7 questions to ask about that card. For example, is this Pokemon part of Scarlet and Violet or the Sword and Shield era? You could say that. Or, you could say, is this Pokemon a support Pokemon? Is it an attacking Pokemon? Is it a bench sitter? Does it pair well with, or is it the forefront of a deck? Like, one of the questions I'll ask Chris sometimes is, have you played this card in your deck within the past like week on your channel?
You always ask me that. Yeah,
and it's
that's
almost
fair.
always no.
Yeah, that's also fair. We are good. Thank you, Avery. I don't know why I had so much trouble getting that set up right. Courtney, you have been sent the clip of the card. If you would like to start asking away, you've got 7 questions, 3 guesses. Do your thing. Oh wait. Actually, let me. Never mind. Take it away.
Sorry. Is this Petrunt?
Which one?
It looks like one of the EXs.
I'm never good at this.
Go,
Yes, it is.
Avery. So I was gonna cut Courtney off because I had a feeling Courtney was about to dial in on this and say that a new competition has started in Who's That Pokemon. This is the last episode for Season 2. Season 3 will be bringing a whole lot more guests. I just needed to kickstart it with someone I feel super comfortable doing this with and who's been a part of my YouTube journey. But there's going to be a new competition that I will start posting the score of, and it'll be how many times the guests guess the Pokemon cards that we choose, as well as how many times we can guess the Pokemon that they choose. Courtney, thank you for that perfect introduction to Avery. Sending you a card. Yes, it is a Petron EX. Here it is for everyone, as well as Courtney. That did not pull up in a perfect spot right there. There we go. So, Avery.
Yay!
Not the hottest
let me
start
actually
for your scoreboard.
let me get you that snippet because I kind of was not informed, or I just forgot
What do you mean?
of the fact that I had to be on the Pokemon, because this is the because if you can tell by my original screenshot, that is in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I didn't even realize that when you sent me that. So yeah, that's fair. How that works. Okay, so let me just re-download this then. Not bad for the technical
I've actually, I think this is only the second time I've seen this Illustrator.
Well, you were dialed in on it for number 2. Let me tell you.
Yeah,
that.
so the only reason why I knew this is because of the absolute pain that I have felt with being donked by Petron Baby, and then the pain that is Petron EX as Control. So I hate to say it, my history with this card gave me an edge for sure.
That's fair. That's very fair. Avery, I wish you the best.
Here we go. Here's where we get to the I'm gonna take 8 questions and not get it right. I can't even see this. What is this thing?
It is part of the card.
It is part of the card. I can confirm. I do have both. It is part of the card.
I can make it a bigger screenshot.
Is this a Kyurem by chance?
This is not a Kyurem.
Straight to the guesses. I respect it. 2 guesses left. 7 questions.
Hey.
Is this an attacking Pokemon?
Yes, it is.
All right, let me get a notepad open because I like to take notes.
You do. You do. It does help. It is, in fact, an attacking Pokemon.
Awesome. Now, is this Pokemon part of Sword and Shield or Scarlet and Violet?
Yes.
Incredible.
Would you like to just ask
Like, was
half
this
of that
released
question,
in the...
and then you'll get your clear
Is
answer?
this a Scarlet and Violet Pokemon?
Yes.
Okay.
That was a good answer, Courtney. Thank you.
That's 2 questions right there.
Is this or this? Uh-huh.
They stabbed me that one then.
I mean, I'm thinking it's gotta be a Sun and Moon card, right? Like, there's no way.
No.
Is this Pokemon a water type?
No, it's not.
Oh.
But he's struggling. But he got paused hard
Yeah.
by that. All the flow out the window.
Is this a 2-prizer Pokemon?
This is.
You know what's crazy, Courtney?
Mm.
I feel like your first clip would have been easier without the Pokemon. In all honesty, I'm gonna pull up the first clip for the viewers. Avery, you don't get such information, but you know it's on screen here for everyone watching. This was the first clip that was sent. Yeah, I feel like
Does this Pokemon have an ability?
It does not have an ability.
How many questions are you at?
I have 5 already.
5 already. 1 guess. 2 questions. 2 guesses. It's a good spot to be in. You've got some good information. You know,
Does this Pokemon evolve?
It does not.
And my final question. Is it a stage 1 or is it a stage 2?
No.
Okay, so it's not a stage 2.
Technically, it's like 2 questions. I'll be real.
It's like the same question.
I guess. Yeah.
Buddy's
Hacker
cooked, Courtney.
Scarlet
Give him
Violet.
that. Like he said, 8 questions. He's
I'll
cooked.
give him something. I'll give him
Give him
something.
8.
It's an attacking Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet that isn't a water type, although it is a 2-prizer without an ability that can evolve, and it's not a stage 2.
Wait, you
No,
said
it can't
can or
evolve.
can't? It can't evolve.
Okay, it cannot evolve. So it's
Cannot. Yes. 2 guesses remaining after your 7.5 questions.
Y'all are really gonna let me just not give me a break here? Like,
No. No.
I'm gonna need a second for this one.
Yeah.
You good. You good. It's a hard one. It's definitely a hard one. As many times, we've been in this situation a few times before, and I feel like each time it's gonna bring more and more anger to you. But I think that's just because you just, I don't know, you ask more questions than allowed, bro. Like, it's breaking rules and needing time is wild.
And that's right. Slow play, judge.
No,
That's yo for real. What you got? It ain't
Alright.
Kirim.
That's what I thought with the 2 spikes that I'm seeing right there, but it could be any portion of the Pokemon.
This is true. This is true. Do you
I
have?
think I see lines. That's got to be part of the Pokemon. It's got to be.
Do you have a
don't
guess
know.
lurking in that mind of yours? Many cards swirl around that. Many are expanded though.
I will admit that this is possibly the best screenshot I could take outside of it being blown up. Because if I grabbed any other part of it,
That's a
it would be more recognizable.
yeah.
Can I get one of my 2 hints that are allotted?
It's 2 ends.
Okay. Yeah, where's these 2 hints coming from?
Episode 1.
Okay. Let's see. This card has been shown in day 2 and on stream.
Hint. Good hint. Make these as
boy,
vague as
alright.
possible. You don't need these hints.
This second hint is gonna be so obvious. It's gonna be so pissed.
No. Oh well, I feel like at this point you're already
Worst part is
getting
I
hints.
probably wouldn't even get it.
You already getting
Huh?
hints. We out.
Yeah.
I'm so lost. I'm gonna be so for real.
Throw something out. Throw something out.
If you do need a bigger screenshot, I can provide one.
How about this?
You're
Can I
good.
put the other? Can I send him the other clip as the second hint? Okay.
That's fine.
Avery, this is your second hint. I'm sending it now.
Okay.
I'm confident you could do this with this.
You know what's wild?
Hmm.
This is just as bad.
Oh, come on, man! Yo, I got faith in you, bro! You could do this.
Well, I'm sorry, but you put your faith in the wrong person. This is definitely an illustration rare, that's for sure.
Yes, I will give you that.
This is true. This is
It's
true.
illustration rare.
A lot of my gameplay is on the base client, so I
If you concede, it will be given.
Hey, no. They still got 2 guesses. I want to hear these 2 guesses for sure. Not to diss them, but just be like, I just want to hear the logic.
That's fair. That's fair.
is this like Gardevoir EX, like the one from
It's
your one?
not Gardevoir EX.
It's gonna be a negative. Oh, but the blue Gardevoir EX, the Shining Fates one, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Shark.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. I could see that with the second. Actually, both clips.
Paladin
No,
Evolve
that
one.
yeah, the
Paladin
color
Fates.
scheme.
Yeah.
Paladin Fates. Thank you. Shining Fates. That's the last one. Yes, Paladin Fates. Yep. I can see that. That's a good guess.
I should have made it a Luxray, honestly.
That would have been funny. That would have been pretty cool. Last guess, Avery, before we call the judge for slow play.
Is
Oh my God.
I've never seen this art before.
That's
I'm
not
so
true.
upset.
That's,
'Cause,
yes,
like,
you are.
That is absolutely not true.
That is absolutely not true. In fact, I've used it on a thumbnail, I'm pretty sure. Not gonna help you any. I've posted a lot of videos.
you got a whole lot going on in your catalog. I'm gonna
do.
say, is this a Blastoise EX?
This is not a Blastoise EX.
It is this card that I am sending to you and pulling up.
It is
hold on,
it is
I'm out.
Terrapagos EX.
Terrapagos
No,
EX. You will always sleep on this card, this deck. It doesn't matter what.
If it wasn't for him giving you the second hint, I would have said we talked about this card in this podcast.
No shot. He would.
Fair enough.
I don't even know if he would have got that. We talked about so many cards. It's a podcast about them. Named after a card. That was a respectable go, Avery. I respect the hustle to play. Terrapagos will always be the demon that you sleep on. People sleep on Snorlax Stall, you sleep on Terrapagos, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I can borderline join you on at least sleeping on the deck many times.
Yep, and then it wins a regional.
Twice, and then we look like idiots
Oh,
both times.
07 and that. My teammate got so screwed. I'm so sorry, girl.
Anyways, Courtney, seriously, thank you so much for just hopping on the podcast. It means the world.
It means
Of course.
To us for you being the first guest. There's no one. It's been something that we've had in the works for so long. You know that. You're in the you know, like you see that. I just wanted to get it to a point where this podcast was as much worth it to any guest, but especially you, because you've done so much to just help me create this channel, and now help Avery get going too. And now we're all three of us sitting here as content creators there for the Creators Cookout on April 5th. Make sure you tune into that. Anyways, thank you for.
I do think I am very honored. I felt like you said, I've been here with you talking about this project of the podcast since day one. And I've also been the wonderful one to have interrupted quite a few podcasts.
That's true. Yo, you right.
I'm not faking that.
No, it's so funny.
I will own up to that. And I'm very happy that you brought me on. And to hear my absolutely crazy takes that you probably could have heard from better people.
No such thing. No such thing. No better people, no crazier takes than what we've said here. I think we've both definitely said some worse takes than you. I think yours are probably the most agreed upon that the podcast has had thus far. But yeah, no, for real, thank you. If there's nothing else you guys want to add before we close out. Courtney, anything?
Nothing particularly. The only thing is that at this moment, as of recording, for the entirety of March and possibly bleeding into April, I am doing a donathon, 100%ing Pokemon Emerald over on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/aftercrash.
Will be in the description down below. Everything will be in the description down below.
Does that include shinies?
No, so my 100% run will but listen, my 100% run will be for the Black Border trainer card. That's my 100%. The donathon will be going towards my move and a new V2 model, as this one's starting to get a little bit outdated.
Yeah.
At least get the shiny Rayquaza. At least snatch that for me.
I'll
It's
try.
gonna happen on your first encounter. It's gonna happen your first encounter, and you'll be like, "Wow, I can't believe this happened." I'll be like, "Yeah, I told you." And you'll be like, "Whoa."
Y'all best start tuning into Crash's stuff. For real. Everyone watching this, everyone who's made it this far especially, yo, why you still watching? Go on Crash's channel. You don't need to be here anymore. We're closing out. And Avery's too. We got 2 channels here. Y'all should check out. So yeah.
I'm going to have a very unhinged rant about Megas coming out very, very soon. You guys
Fair. But yeah, no, for real, thank you to everyone who's tuned in this far and made it this far into the podcast series, and now here for our first guest. Thank you guys all so much for that. Thank you too for both being here. I hope everyone is doing awesome in a great space, and if you need anywhere to go, anyone to talk to, I know you got me, Avery, Courtney, right alongside. You know, like we're all here to create a community together that has reached out to much more, to be much more than just Pokemon. So, you know, you guys always got us, I'm sure. With that being said, I hope everyone's doing awesome. Stay epic. Peace.
Peace.
Have a good night.